Hey guys, so if you're around my age or maybe older, you may remember thinking that Japan was one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world. For a long time, that was actually true in the 90s and early 2000s, but they've sort of fallen behind in recent years. If you don't already know, if you ever want to do anything official involving the Japanese government here, any sort of official documentation or anything like that, everything here is mostly still done by paper. You could walk into any Japanese government office and you'll find very little computers and mostly just desks with files organized with actual paper to manage everything. And so for a long time, there's been this big disconnect between the older generation and the younger generation and seeing the importance of computers and technology and how it can benefit people. Many people in Japan are actually very afraid of technology and don't know too much about it. And because of that, at least I'll just talk government-wise, because of that, there's been a lot of things in the government that have been slow to adopt new technology. But now you may have heard that Japan recently, September 2020, has gotten a new prime minister. Now, I'm not really going to talk about the prime ministers or anything like that. I don't really know anything about it. But since I follow a lot of tech news, one thing that I am noticing that's coming up a lot is this new Prime Minister of Japan is planning on getting the Japanese government up to one of the most technologically advanced in the world, from basically the worst to one of the best. So far, what I'm finding out is he's hired over 500 computer experts and he's looking for guidance from countries such as Taiwan and South Korea, which are known to have some of the most technologically advanced government systems in the world. He's learning from them, and as early as September of this year, 2021, he's making this whole digital agency to bring the Japanese government back up to speed. Now, you or other people may be thinking, what's so important about digitalizing Japan anyway? Or you may be thinking, I'm surprised it wasn't already digitalized. Regardless, this pandemic has shown a lot of flaws with not doing things digitally to the Japanese government as well as the Japanese citizens, which is good because I've talked about this in other videos, but Japanese people are they have this pack mentality where if just a few key people do something, the whole country jumps on board. And because of that, they're one of the fastest countries, if not the fastest country, to implement new things because everyone just jumps on board if everyone else is doing it. But it can also mean they lag behind in things together, such as this situation right here. Japan has this thing called the My Number card, and it's this card you can get with a little IC chip just like your credit cards and stuff like that. And it's almost like a digital social security card. And you can actually take it to any convenience store, convenience stores being 7-Eleven, Lawson's, Family Mart, almost like a little gas station type thing. These things are everywhere, and they have machines in these convenience stores that you can take your My Number card to and do official government work just from this kiosk in these 24-hour convenience stores. You can take your My Number card and get things like print your birth certificate or qualify for renting an apartment or get official paperwork, whatever you need to do whatever you need to do, basically. Citizenships, driver's license, whatever. You could do quite a bit of it from a kiosk in any convenience store with your My Number card. And this My Number card has been around for a few years, and you may be thinking this is pretty technologically advanced for a government to have in the first place. And you'd be right, except that most Japanese citizens do not have a My Number card. A lot of them are very afraid to do something like this. But with this pandemic that's been going on, because very few Japanese citizens actually have this My Number card, there have been massive delays with Japan's relief check. They're doing relief checks as well for this pandemic, and they've been having a really hard time just handing them out because it's hard for people to identify themselves. They have to go to the city office and file all this paperwork and do everything manually by hand, and city offices are only open a certain amount of time, and there's huge lines and all this stuff, which has become another problem is because everything's done by paper and not really computers. They're also noticing that they don't have the infrastructure built to do anything remotely, so it puts a lot of the citizens at risk because they have to go to these government buildings and wait in line. They're packed, file paperwork and stuff around all these other people. And then on top of just the citizens having to go to these offices because they don't have any online systems implemented in place, government workers also have to work in the government buildings because there's really no option for them to be able to do their job remotely. On top of this, government officials have actually had a lot of problems holding video meetings because I guess a lot of the systems, the video meeting systems they're using are not up to speed or they're not compatible with each other. And on top of all this, as we know, COVID testing has actually been a really important process to stopping this thing. Japan has had a really hard time distributing the test as well as keeping track of all of the numbers. This article that I'm looking at from Japan Times puts it perfectly. Japan's attachment to paper processes and its failure to put government services online was harshly exposed during the COVID pandemic as it struggles to manage its test and tracking program. I'll tell you the bright side to all of this though. Like I said before, Japan implements things quick, and when they do implement something, they end up becoming one of the best at it. So I'm excited to see what happens in Japan, especially if they're getting guidance from Taiwan and South Korea, and to see how fast all this digitalization comes and just how advanced it really gets. Right now, even I was surprised when I was going in to get my residency card and renting this place, and anything official that I had to do since living here is such a manual process that it's almost surprising. Everything is just pen and paper here. And this isn't supposed to be a political or governmental video. This is more of a tech video because I'm much more interested in the tech, and I'm excited for Japan to see this happen and excited to see how these changes go down while living here. I know a couple videos ago I did a video on things I like and things I don't like about Japan, and I know the implementation of internet stuff was one of the things that I disliked. So I'm really excited to see this. Let me know what you guys think of this technological advancements in the world, not just Japan. So anyway guys, that's been it for this video. Signing out. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll see you guys in the next video.